first stronghold and defend. Ours, till the world be riven in the crash of the utter end. Ours, from the bleak beginning, through the eons of death-like sleep. Ours, from the shock when the naked rock was hurled from the hissing deep. Ours, through the twilight He's a rolling stone, and it's bred in the bone. He's a man that won't fit in. Do you ever feel like that? That you know what you could do to have a slow and steady pace that wins the race, but you're always drawn to excitement and adventure. I love that this poem is written by somebody who had that draw instead of being a moralizing poem where it's some righteous person telling you what you should do. He's telling you where he's gone wrong, but always with the air of excitement and it having been worthwhile, the journey. Let's read his poem, The Rime of the Restless Ones. We couldn't sit still and study for the law. The stagnation of a bank we couldn't stand. For our riot blood was surging, and we didn't need much urging to excitements and excesses that are banned. So we took to wine and drink and other things, and the devil in us struggled to be free, till our friends rose up in wrath, and they pointed out the path, and they paid our debts and backed us over the sea. Oh, they shook us off, shipped us over the foam, to the larger lands that lure a man to roam, and we took the chance they gave of a far-off and foreign grave, and we bade goodbye forevermore to home. And some of us are climbing on the peak, and some of us are camping on the plain. By pine and palm you'll find us, with never a claim to bind us. By track and trail you'll meet us once again. We are fated serfs to freedom, sky and sea. We have failed where slummy cities overflow, but the stranger ways of the earth know our pride and know our worth. And we go into the dark as fighters go. Yes, we go into the night as brave men go, though our faces, they be often streaked with woe. Yet we're hard as cats to kill, and our hearts are reckless still, and we've danced with death a dozen times or so. And you'll find us in Alaska after gold, and you'll find us herding cattle in the south. We like strong drink and fun, and when the race is run, we often die with curses in our mouth. We are wild as colts unbroke, but never mean. Of our sins we've shouldered broad to bear the blame. But we'll never stay in a town, and we'll never settle down, and we'll never have an object or an aim. No, there's that in us that time can never tame, and life will always seem a careless game. And they'd better far forget those who say they love us yet. Forget, blot out with bitterness our name. That's Robert Service's poem, Rime of the Restless Ones. shiny woods all athrill, degrading a leap in the river, the bighorn asleep on the hill, the strong life that never knows harness, the wilds where the caribou call, the freshness, the freedom, the farness. Oh, how I'm stuck on it all. The winter, the brightness that blinds you, the white land locked tight as a drum, the cold fear that follows and finds you, the silence that bludgeons you dumb, the snows that are older than history, the woods where the weird shadows slant, the stillness, the moonlight, the mystery. I've bid them goodbye, but I can't. There's a land where the mountains are nameless, and the rivers all run God knows where. There are lives that are erring and aimless, and deaths that just hang by a hair. There are hardships that nobody reckons. There are valleys unpeopled and still. There's a land, oh, how it beckons and beckons. And I want to go back. And I will. They're making my money diminish. I'm sick of the taste of champagne. Thank God when I'm skinned to a finish, I'll bike to the Yukon again. I'll fight, and you bet it's no sham fight. It's hell, but I've been there before. And it's better than this by a damn sight. So, me for the Yukon once more. There's gold, and it's haunting.